It's the bye week. It's time for them to take stock of themselves. It is time for us to take stock of them too. I like to give grades after wins and losses. Let's grade each position on the team and the coaching staff halfway through the season at 5-3.
Okay, let's start with an overall grade for the team. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to cough a little. For an overall grade for the team right now.
Why don't we finish with the
okay?
overall grade for the? Why don't we finish with the overall grade for the team?
Sure, sounds fair to me.
Is that okay?
Yep.
I'm buying.
So
time
where do we
I
start?
didn't do that one.
Where do we start?
Let's start at quarterback.
Okay.
Brock Purdy.
May I go first?
Yes.
Okay, this is going to frustrate and anger a lot of people, and it's okay. It's just my opinion. C+. And I'd like to say why. If you had asked me after the first 5 games to give Brock Purdy a letter grade, I would have given him an A, and I would have given it happily. I would have been proud to give him an A because he's such a wonderful story, and he's a very good player. Not a great player, but he's a very good player. But his last 3 performances, despite what the numbers show, his passer rating, have been abysmal. Especially the last 2, and I want to be very clear on this. You could say that the defense lost the game for them in the last 2 games, and they're certainly complicit. So I'm not saying they didn't, but Purdy also lost the game. In the last 2 games they've played, he had a chance to win at the end. Not only didn't he win, he gave it up. In both
Turned the ball over.
Turned the ball over. In both cases, it's not only that he didn't win, he failed. He failed. He gave.
I believe he has 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter of the last 2 games. 3 turnovers, 3 picks, and a fumble.
Can't do it. And so what I want to say is when you give up the ball, it wipes out so many of the good things you've done. It wipes out your completion percentage, your winning percentage, your charming good looks. Giving the ball up makes you like Matt Ryan. It makes you like Matthew Stafford. You don't want those guys on your team. So based on what he's done in 8 games, not in the first 5, I give him a C+, and I consider that a fairly good grade and generous.
I give him a C+ as well. He is the main reason they lost the last 2 games. And he was one of the main reasons they lost the one before that. 17 points, 3 weeks in a row. The way I look at it is he didn't have to do much the first 5 games of the year. His supporting cast was healthy. His defense was rolling. He had everyone around him. He was putting up 30 points without breaking a sweat. But as soon as he lost a couple players on offense, and the Niners said, all right, man, like, be elite. Be the real deal. Carry us. He couldn't. No. He not only could he not carry him, he fumbled. He fumbled it away. He dropped him.
Dropped him.
That's
couldn't
the completed metaphor. Thank you. Yeah.
I was an English major. Yeah.
I tried. Anyway. C+. All right, running back.
B.
Ooh.
What about you?
I gave him an A. B. But I'm a generous grader. California.
Okay. I want to say in every one of these grades, I will defer to you. Christian McCaffrey's great, but Iggy, his running, his yards per carry has fallen off.
I blame the offensive line and Kyle for overusing him, but he's got almost 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns through 8 games.
Okay.
I mean, from scrimmage, 1,000 yards from scrimmage. I don't know. He did fumble against the Vikings, and that was one of the main reasons the Niners lost.
And also, you said running backs. You didn't say Christian McCaffrey.
That's a good point.
And the coach is not using the other running backs. I don't think he's using them intelligently. I think he's getting the little guy, number 23, and he is a little guy, beat up too much. So, no, I'm sticking on this one, Iggy. I'm sticking with the B.
I'm deferring to you. I think you made a good we'll each give our grade and we'll debate it a little bit and see if who agrees with who. I like yours. That's a good point. It's not just McCaffrey, it's all of them. All right.
You said running backs.
All right, I'm writing it down. B. Wide receivers.
Right, wide receivers. Okay. Ayuk is phenomenal. Wide receivers. Debo is sort of irrelative. Boy, that's a tough one. Ayuk is so good. The others, I have to give him an A- as a group. What do you think?
I'd give him a B. There's no way I'm putting him above the running backs. Ayuk's
Okay.
good, but when it's time for him to carry the team, he can't do it either. He has some big drops the last few weeks
Okay.
during this losing streak. I'd give him a B as well. Jawan Jennings has done nothing this year. Nothing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Debo's really not done much. I'm persuaded. I
Yeah.
think B sounds
B.
like a good grade and a fair grade. And I want you to remember, people, B is a good grade. I don't know how you were in school. I got B's sometimes, and I didn't go crying. B's a good grade.
B's a good grade. B's a good grade. Okay. Tight ends.
Okay, tight ends. It's really just one guy. Iggy, I'm going to have to give him an A. I'm going to have to give Kittle an A.
I gave
You
Kittle
don't
an A
like
as
it.
well. I gave Kittle
Okay.
an A as well. He's having
Yeah.
a really good bounce back season. Got to give him an A.
And
Yeah.
I would say some other things about him. I thought maybe he was getting to the point of being washed up.
Me too.
No, he's
Yeah.
really a hell of a blocker, and he's good at it, and he doesn't mind. He seems to like doing it. He runs great routes. He has great hands, and he's a tough guy. He is. I think maybe he's a bit of a phony, and with those glasses and stuff, in the press conferences. But I'm not grading his press conference performances. I also there's something lighthearted about him that I kind of find attractive. But I think he's one of the elite tight ends in the league and is playing that way. So an A for me.
Yeah. And last 2-3 years, I kept wondering, why is he not getting the ball? Like, why are there these games where he has 3 catches for 29 yards? You're paying him all this money. Is he not getting open? And I think what's clear is that it's a Kyle thing. There's just certain weeks where Kyle Shanahan isn't focused on George Kittle and is focused on getting the ball to other guys. Once he actually calls George Kittle's number, he produces.
He
does.
does. Yeah.
It's not a George issue. It's a Kyle issue. So I
Yeah.
give him an A.
So
Yeah.
A.
A. Offensive line.
Oh boy. D.
D.
D. What do you
D.
think?
I
So
gave him
we
a
agree
C
on that.
minus. I gave him a C minus, but I was trying
I
to be
could live with
generous.
that. I could live
Yeah.
with a C minus.
Yeah.
Let me say why I grade him low. I don't think the right side can pass protect very well. And I feel that they're not opening up as the season rolls along, they're not really opening up holes for the running game. So I guess those are the two things they have to do. Um, I could live with a C plus, Iggy. I wouldn't fight with that. That's okay. What do you think?
C minus. I'm just going C minus here. I didn't want to give him a failing grade because I feel like the Niners, they haven't gotten Purdy injured yet. I feel like they've done a decent job, but Trent Williams is good but hurt. Aaron Banks is good but hurt, and the rest of the offensive line is decent at best. I wouldn't say the right line. The right side of the offensive line isn't good at anything. It's not good at run blocking. It's not good at pass protection. Everything is to the left.
Iggy, I want to just come back to one thing you said. They haven't gotten the quarterback hurt yet. Yes, they have. He's been hurt
they have.
each of the last 2 games.
That's
True.
true.
He hasn't hurt his arm. He's hurt his head twice.
That's a good point.
And again, we'll talk about Kyle later. I think he's exposing the kid to risk beyond what, if I were the coach, I would be doing. But they have gotten him hurt 2 games in a row.
All right, let's go with D then. D line.
Oh, what an overrated bunch. Okay, in terms of talent, they're an A. In terms of production, C.
I'm going to split the difference and give them a B and say that a big reason they're not producing is because of the back end.
Fair
because
enough.
The secondary. I'm going to give them a B. They haven't been good against the run. I think they could be better as pass rushers if the coverage wasn't so soft.
Okay, here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to come up to a B minus.
Fair enough. B minus.
I'm willing to come up to a B minus.
I like it. And now that they have Chase Young, maybe it'll be higher. We'll see. Linebackers.
Yeah. Greenlaw's been hurt, but Iggy, that's an A group. They make so many tackles. Okay, I see that puss. You're making the puss.
Know. I mean, why are the Niners 16th out of 32 teams in yards per carry allowed? Like, that's as mediocre as it gets against the run. And part of it's the D line, but the D line gets credit for rushing the quarterback. The linebackers are there to stop the run, and they're not doing it. I mean, Greenlaw's been hurt. I think Fred Warner's having a really overrated year. I mean, he talks a lot. He's the leader of the team, but they're
So
getting
what would you
gashed on
give
the
him?
ground. See,
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 I'm persuaded. Sounds good to me.
see. I mean, I don't care their reputation. I don't think they're playing that well. DBs,
F.
F,
F.
absolutely, F.
You agree?
All of them. Even Talanoa Hufanga, who was an All-Pro last year, missing tackles galore. Tashawn Gibson, just out there. The corners, all bad. F.
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 And could we go a little further and say, even though the offensive line is not that good, the defensive backs is the worst unit on the team, worse than the offensive line?
Yes.
We agree on that. I mean,
The
this
worst,
is the
yeah.
glaring weakness, and it's why when they pick up an edge rusher, you're scratching your head and saying, edge rusher? What about these poor guys back there? Don't they need a little help?
Yeah, because it's still one of your best positions on the team, edge rusher. And you got an F position. You got a D and an F. A D at offensive line and an F at DB. Special teams.
Oh, that kid, he makes you nervous. Now he's come
Nervous.
through nervous. Iggy, I'm going to have to give him a C.
Me too. How much confidence do you really have in Jake Moody? And
Yeah,
then
I'm going to
finally,
have to give him a C.
coaches.
Oh, I want to break him. I'm going to do it a certain way.
Mhm.
Let's start with Kyle. As an offensive coordinator, I'm going to give him, as an offensive coordinator, a B, because he started out the season, scoring 30 or more points every game. But now in the last 3 games, he can't get nothing. So I'm gonna give him a B. As a head coach, I'm gonna give him a D.
Yeah.
As a head coach, because he started out beautifully and then blew it. He went from the team in the NFC to a team in the NFC, and that's on the head coach. So as a coordinator B, but falling, head coach D, defensive coordinator D, or an F.
F.
I'm
sorry. It's not his fault, but like nothing he's doing is working.
Okay, then you know what? I was trying to be generous. I don't know him, but he seems like a man of great pride and great dignity, and
I agree.
I admire a leader. I admire him, but Iggy, I have to give him an F.
It's not
Would
working.
you go into a little on why you're giving him an F?
Well, schematically, he can't get his pass rush to work. He can't figure out how to get his pass rush to work. He has all this talent, whether he rushes 4, 5, 6, or 7, no one gets to the quarterback. He gets pressure, but he can't figure out that his secondary is or he can't work around his secondary. And it's like D'Amico had the same guys last year and had a number 1 defense. And this guy is so concerned about his corners that he's playing them 10 yards off the ball and giving up and conceding his pass rush. So he can't stop the run, can't stop the pass. He's floundering. And then I got to disagree with you about Kyle as the offensive coordinator. When he was rolling, what he was doing was giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey too much, which we talked about earlier. That was not creative. That was reckless, and it led to them peaking in September, which we talked about. So now he loses. Christian McCaffrey gets a little banged up. He loses 2 players, and all of a sudden they can't get more than 17 points. Yeah. I kind of feel like he, whatever he is as a coach, he's not as creative as Mike McDaniel. And ever since Mike McDaniel left this team last year, they haven't been as creative on offense. Kyle's best idea is give the ball to Christian McCaffrey as much as humanly possible. That's Kyle.
Okay, what do you give him as an offensive coordinator? I'm persuaded. What do you give him as a head coach?
D. He's responsible for Wilkes.
And he's responsible for the 3-game losing streak.
Yeah,
to
this team,
mediocre teams.
This team was cruising. They made it look easy. He didn't have to do that much. He had a very talented team that he and John Lynch put together that was uncharacteristically healthy early in the season. As soon as they lost a couple players, everything fell apart. They lost 1 game to PJ Walker, and they still haven't worked it out. And we're going to talk about why. But what coach? I mean, Robert Saleh lost Aaron Rodgers in the first drive of the season, and he's still in it. Kyle Shanahan loses to PJ Walker, and they can't pull themselves out of a tailspin. When he pulls himself out, when he wins another game, I'll give him higher than a D. But right now, he's looking like a guy who had an easy job and now has a real job, and he can't do it.
I love what you're saying. I love it, Iggy. And I would add, right now, Robert Saleh is doing a better coaching job than Kyle Shanahan.
So is Mike McDaniel. So is D'Amico
Yes.
Ryans. So, maybe not D'Amico Ryans, but he took over. He's on a terrible team. All of his underlings now surpassing him. So what would you give for the overall grade for the team?
Okay. At this point, where they stand, B.
B. I agree.
B.
I agree.
They're 5-3. They're
Yeah.
in the conversation. They're no longer in first place, even in the division. They're in the conversation. If they win the next game, 6-3 is a very good record.
Yes.
If they lose the next game, but
No.
I for where they stand today, a B at the break.
I think that's very interesting.